May 25, 2020, Memorial Day evening at 8:08 p.m. with temperatures at 76 degrees in Minneapolis. Minutes that changed everything, a repeated cry for help, a questionable 20, and a symbol that brought millions together. May 25, 2025. 5 years later. Across the street, 17-year-old Darnella Frazier walked her cousin to the store. She had her phone ready. What she captured that night would be seen by millions worldwide. 4 officers convicted. $27 million paid. Millions marched worldwide. But here's the question nobody wants to ask: did anything actually change? Or are we just telling ourselves it did? George Floyd. Derek Chauvin. Cup Foods on Chicago Avenue. A $20 bill that sparked a confrontation. You know this story. But here's what most people missed. The first report was 3 lines long. Medical distress. No mention of what the world would soon see. No mention of the restraint technique. No mention of the documented duration. If 17-year-old Darnella Frazier hadn't recorded that footage, this might have remained just another filed report. Think about that. In 2020, with cameras everywhere, the official narrative collapsed within hours under scrutiny. The initial story crumbled in hours. The real footage spread in minutes. What the world witnessed became a global rallying cry. But rallying cries fade. What remains? Summer 2020. The largest demonstrations in American history. Over 26 million people participated domestically. Public unrest spread across cities worldwide. Corporations pledged $50 billion to justice initiatives. Everyone said, this time is different. Everyone said, real change is coming. 5 years later, let's check the receipts. The legal win, all 4 officers convicted. Chauvin got 22 years. The others got 2 to 4 years each. Justice served, right? The money, Minneapolis paid $27 million to Floyd's family. The largest excessive force settlement in history. Problem solved. The laws, 36 states passed some form of law enforcement reform. Body cameras, restraint bans, intervention requirements. Progress, surely. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Officer-involved incidents documented by databases showed 1,004 cases in 2019, rising to 1,163 in 2023. The numbers moved upward, not down. 247 people from affected communities were involved in such encounters in 2023. In 2019, the number was 241. Progress remained elusive. Public support for reform movements dropped from 67% to 51%. Global attention inevitably shifted. Those corporate pledges? Many were quietly scaled back by 2024. Funding decreased as public attention moved elsewhere. The federal reform legislation stalled in Congress for 4 years. Political momentum gradually dissipated. But wait. There's more. 2025 brought policy shifts. Inclusion programs were downsized. Federal justice initiatives faced budget cuts. Some officials describe a pendulum swinging back. The Washington, D.C. mural, the one visible from space, was removed in March 2025. Officially 4 street renovations. The timing raised questions worldwide. Derek Chauvin sits in prison. But controversial discussions about his case continue. Different perspectives emerge in ongoing debates. The Minneapolis force lost 40% of its officers. Crime spiked. Politicians blamed the reforms, not the officers who quit. So here's the uncomfortable question: did we fix the problem, or just move it around? Minneapolis spent millions on law enforcement reform. Violent crime remains above 2019 levels. Coincidence? Corporations pledged billions for justice initiatives. Corporate diversity spending declined 30% by 2024. Unfulfilled commitments. Millions marched for change worldwide. Support dropped 16 percentage points in 5 years. Performative activism. George Floyd Square still stands at 38th and Chicago. But city officials want it gone. The memorial site has become a gathering spot for visitors, just a photo op, or a heartfelt tribute. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Perhaps the outcomes reflect deeper institutional patterns. 4 officers prosecuted. Check. Settlement paid. Check. Reforms passed. Check. Public satisfied. Check. But fatal encounters continue at similar rates. Communities still suffer. Systemic issues remain untouched. Did we achieve justice, or merely its appearance? Did we create change, or simply its perception? Consider this: Rodney King's incident in 1991 sparked similar global outrage. Similar promises. Similar reforms. Yet here we are, 34 years later, asking the same questions. Maybe the real question isn't whether Floyd's death changed America. Maybe it's whether any system truly wants to transform itself. Floyd's death sparked solidarity protests across 60 countries, from London's Parliament Square to Sydney's Town Hall. The world watched America confront its challenges. But other nations moved faster. The UK moved within months to ban neck restraints. Canada fast-tracked federal oversight measures. New Zealand reviewed all arrest procedures. The US. Still debating legal protections 5 years later. The symbol went global. The solution stayed local. And mostly theoretical. Let's be honest about what actually shifted. Individual accountability, for officers in prison. That's unprecedented. Usually, they get administrative leave. Legal precedent: Chauvin's conviction pierced traditional law enforcement solidarity. Juries proved willing to hold officers accountable. Sometimes. Cultural awareness: you can't claim ignorance anymore. The footage exists. The data is public. Community organizing: local groups didn't disappear when the cameras left. They're still fighting. Still demanding answers. But systemic change? The kind that prevents future tragedies? That's still a work in progress. 5 years later, here's what we know for certain. George Floyd wasn't meant to become a symbol. He was simply making a purchase with a questionable $20 bill. But symbols don't choose themselves. We choose them. The question is, what do we do with that symbol? Do we use it to comfort ourselves that justice was served? Do we point to reforms and call it progress? Do we move on to the next crisis? Or do we admit the uncomfortable truth, that real change requires more than viral videos and hashtags? It requires sustained effort. Uncomfortable conversations. Systemic restructuring. And maybe, just maybe, admitting that some problems can't be solved with a single conviction or a single settlement. Nekema Levy Armstrong, who organized the first protests, still fights these battles daily. Progress is measured in decades, not moments, she says. Artist Kiana Jones, who painted that destroyed DC mural, saved a piece before it was demolished. You can destroy the art, she said, but you can't destroy the conversation. So here we are. 5 years later. 4 officers convicted. Millions marched globally. Billions pledged. Laws passed. And challenges continue. Did George Floyd's death transform society? Or did society reshape his death into something easier to process? The recording remains. 8 minutes and 46 seconds. 27 documented pleas for help. The question remains, are we breathing easier, or just holding our breath until the next crisis? What do you think? Did we achieve the transformation we sought, or did we adapt to what felt manageable within existing systems? Because in 5 more years, we'll be having this conversation again. Unless we decide to make it the last time we have to. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. That's what they say. But someone has to do the bending. And that someone is us. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments what you think about this case. And if you enjoy deep dives into true crime, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next story. Until next time, friends.